The year was 2471. Humanity had spread far across the stars, building colonies, spaceports, and listening posts in every dark corner of the galaxy. One of those lonely stations was Echo 7, a deep space outpost drifting near the edge of the Perseus Rim. It was small, quiet, and forgotten, a place where silence was normal. But that silence was about to change. Commander Alina Torres sat alone in the control room, her eyes fixed on a flickering signal screen. The hum of the power core was steady, the sound of safety. Outside, through the observation window, stars glowed like scattered diamonds. Then one of those stars blinked out. At first she thought it was just a glitch. Sensors failed sometimes this far from the core worlds. But a second star vanished. Then a third. The screen began to show black spots spreading like spilled ink across the star map. Alina frowned. "System check," she said softly. The station's computer responded in a calm tone. "All systems stable. External silence detected." Silence. That word chilled her. Space was never truly silent. There were always background signals, radio static, cosmic radiation, energy bursts from distant suns. The galaxy was alive with noise, but now everything around Echo 7 had gone quiet. She opened a live channel to the nearest colony ship. "Colony Vega, this is Echo 7. Are you receiving this transmission?" No reply, only the soft hiss of nothing. She tried again. "Vega, respond." The static answered back, a hollow emptiness that made her skin crawl. Something was wrong. She leaned closer to the screen and noticed the strange part. The silence wasn't spreading randomly. It was moving in a perfect line, like something was cutting through the stars. She started recording. "Echo 7 log entry, a wave of radio silence is sweeping across Sector 14. Origin unknown. Estimated speed." Light speed. Then a voice, faint and distant, whispered through the speakers. At first it sounded human, but when she replayed the audio, the voice repeated her own words. 5 seconds before she said them, her breath caught. "That's impossible." The power lights dimmed. The hum of the engines faded to a low heartbeat. Outside, one by one, stars were winking out, swallowed by a growing darkness. Alina called the station crew. "Everyone to the command room, now!" Within minutes, her small team arrived. Engineer Malik, Navigator Juno, and Communications Officer Wren. Their faces were pale in the dim light. "Commander, we've lost contact with every nearby post," said Wren, trembling. "Even Earth Command isn't answering. It's like the whole sector just disappeared." Malik stared at the window. "Look at that," he whispered. A soft shimmer moved across the stars, not like dust, not like gas. More like something alive. It rippled and pulsed, erasing constellations wherever it passed. Juno ran a scan. No radiation, no signal, nothing. It's like the universe just stopped talking. The crew stood silent. For the first time in their lives, they realized what true silence in space felt like. It wasn't peaceful, it was terrifying. Then the main screen flickered again. Lines of unknown symbols appeared, glowing faintly in a pale blue light. They weren't letters. They weren't numbers. They looked like... "Eyes," Wren whispered. "Commander, I think it's trying to say something." Alina's voice shook. "Or it's watching." The symbols moved, rearranging themselves into new shapes. A pattern, a message. She ordered the computer to translate, but every attempt failed. Each time, the translation came back with the same result. No data, source unknown. And then, a final line appeared on the screen. "Do not look into the dark." Before anyone could react, the entire station shuddered. Lights exploded. The screens went black. Emergency alarms wailed. The air smelled of burnt metal. Malik shouted over the noise. "We're losing power. The generators are draining, like something's pulling it from us." Alina gripped the console. "Seal the bulkheads! Try to reboot the core!" But it was too late. Through the window, the void outside began to twist. The stars stretched, bent, and vanished, leaving only one thing behind, a shape. A dark outline moving through space, blocking the starlight like a living shadow. Juno whispered, "What is that?" No one answered. The shape pulsed once, sending a ripple of black energy toward the station. Alina's last thought before the lights died was that the stars weren't gone, they were hiding, and then the final transmission from Echo 7 was sent. A trembling voice, barely human anymore. The stars are not gone. They are looking back. After that, the station's signal vanished from all human records. Hours later, deep within the Fleet Command Center on Earth, a message came through, corrupted, but clear enough to start panic. Within minutes, Earth's Defense Council ordered the launch of their most powerful ship, the UNS Resolute. Its mission: investigate the silence. But what waited out there was not waiting to be found. 3 days after Echo 7 went silent, the UNS Resolute jumped into deep space. The warship was humanity's pride, a massive vessel built for defense, exploration, and survival. Its armor gleamed silver under the light of distant suns. It carried a crew of 300, all trained to face anything the stars could hide. But no one on board had ever seen a silence this wide before. Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge, hands behind his back, staring at the main viewport. "Report," he said quietly. Lieutenant Rhea Lynn, his first officer, read from her screen. "Still no signal from Echo 7, sir. We're entering the last known coordinates now. Outside the glass, there were no stars, only a faint grey mist that looked like dust. The sensors called it empty space, but every instinct in the crew screamed that it wasn't empty at all." The ship's engines slowed to a crawl. Navigation Officer Darren Holt frowned. "Captain, I'm reading strange fluctuations. Our scanners. They can't see more than a few thousand kilometers ahead. It's like light itself is bending." Kane turned. "Explain. Like the space around us is rippling," Darren said. "As if something is pressing against it from the other side." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Rhea tried to lighten the mood. "Maybe it's just a gravity field, sir," but Kane didn't smile. "No, gravity doesn't whisper." Everyone froze. Because just then, through the comm system, a voice did whisper. It was faint, soft, and broken, like radio static. But it spoke with the ship's own call sign. "Resolute. Do you copy? This is Echo 7. We see you." The bridge went silent. Rhea's fingers trembled over the console. "Commander Torres?" No answer. Only the same hollow hiss that had ended the station's last transmission. Then the voice came again, but this time it wasn't from the comm. It was coming from inside the ship. Down the corridor, lights flickered one by one, as if something invisible was walking through the metal halls. Kane spoke firmly. "Lock down all decks. Sound internal scan." "Internal scan complete," the system replied. No life forms detected except registered crew, but the temperature was dropping. The walls began to frost over. The sound of soft footsteps echoed down the corridor, though no one was there. Rhea whispered, "It's like..." The silence followed us. Suddenly the main screen flashed to life. The empty grey mist outside the ship began to change. Stars started to appear again, but they weren't stars. They blinked, like eyes opening in the dark. Darren's voice cracked. "Captain, those aren't stars." Every star moved slightly, adjusting its position, watching the warship. The crew felt the weight of hundreds, maybe thousands, of unseen gazes pressing against their minds. The ship's scientist, Dr. Mira Voss, ran a scan. Energy readings off the charts. Not heat, not radiation. Something else. Like emotion. Kane turned to her. "Emotion?" She hesitated. "Like it's studying us." Then the whispers returned, louder this time, layered with faint echoes of their own voices. "Leave the dark. Leave the dark." Kane gritted his teeth. "What do they want?" Before anyone could answer, the ship's main lights went out. The emergency red lights flickered on, painting the bridge in blood-colored shadows. The hull groaned, like the ship itself was afraid. Rhea gasped. "Captain, movement inside the hangar bay." They switched the camera feed. Inside the bay, a maintenance drone floated lifelessly. Then suddenly it moved. Its mechanical arms twitched, even though no command had been sent. It turned toward the camera, then froze. The image distorted into static. Mira whispered, "Something is inside our systems." The voice came again, but now It was speaking directly through the ship's speakers, repeating Kane's own words from moments ago. Every word he said came back 5 seconds later, like an echo from the future. "Lock down all decks! Lock down all decks! Lock down all decks!" The crew stared in horror. The ship was repeating them, predicting them. Kane slammed his hand on the console. "Hell!" He stopped himself. "Computer, seal all channels. Full isolation mode!" The lights flickered once, twice, then stabilized. For a moment everything went quiet again. Too quiet. Mira looked at the energy readings. "Captain, the silence isn't just around us anymore. It's inside the ship." A long pause filled the air. Kane turned slowly toward the viewport. Outside, all the eyes were gone. Only the mist remained, and then from deep in the ship's corridors, they heard a low metallic screech. Not from an engine, from a door opening by itself. Then footsteps. Slow, heavy, deliberate, Darren whispered, "Who's there?" No one answered. The sound came closer. Metal boots, dragging against the floor. The bridge door hissed open. A figure stood there, wearing the uniform of Echo 7, but Echo 7 was gone, destroyed. Its insignia was burned, its visor cracked. The figure's face was hidden in shadow. It raised a trembling hand toward them and whispered the same haunting words that started everything. "The stars are looking back." The lights exploded again. When they came back on, the figure was gone. Only a faint black dust remained on the floor, glowing softly in the red light. Kane looked at it, his voice low and shaken. "Whatever this is, it followed their signal," Dr. Mira whispered. "No, Captain. We followed it." The bridge fell silent once more. Outside, the mist began to swirl again, forming something vast and alive. The sensors picked it up as a single reading, unknown object detected. Size greater than planetary scale. Captain Kane whispered the only words he could think of. "God help us." "We just made first contact." The UNS Resolute drifted in silence. Its engines hummed faintly, but the sound felt distant, like a dying heartbeat echoing through a vast grave. No one spoke. The crew sat frozen on the bridge, eyes fixed on the sensors. Outside, the swirling mist of the void surrounded them completely. The stars were gone again, and deep inside the ship, something was moving. Captain Elias Kane stood near the command chair, his jaw tight. "Status report," he said quietly. Lieutenant Ria Lin shook her head. "All systems are functional, sir, but there's energy movement on Deck 4. It's not mechanical." Dr. Mira Voss looked up from her console. "Not mechanical? Then what is it?" Ria hesitated. "It's alive." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Kane exhaled slowly. "Send a recon team." Minutes later, 4 security officers descended into the lower decks. The corridors were dark and narrow, lit only by red emergency lights. The air felt heavy, like the whole ship was holding its breath. Their helmets clicked as they activated comms. "Deck 4 moving forward," one officer whispered. They turned a corner and stopped. A faint trail of black dust shimmered across the floor, the same dust left by the figure that had appeared on the bridge. It pulsed faintly like it was breathing. The lead officer crouched, scanning it. "Captain, we've got residue. Unknown compound. It's reacting to our light." Before he could finish, the corridor lights blinked once. Twice, then went dark. Their helmet lamps flickered weakly. Something brushed past one of them. A soft, cold movement like air, shifting underwater. Did anyone feel that? A hiss filled the comm channel. Then a sound, a whisper. Not words, not quite a voice, just a breath that seemed to come from everywhere. "We see you!" One officer screamed as his lamp went out. A flash of movement. Something pulling him backward into the shadows. His scream cut off instantly. "Command! We've lost Cooper! Get back!" Kane's voice echoed through their earpieces. "Retreat to the elevator, now!" The remaining officers ran, but the corridor began to distort. The walls stretched, bending like soft metal. Their boots hit the floor, but the sound came back delayed, as if the ship itself had forgotten how to echo. They reached the lift, slamming the door controls. The last officer looked back and froze. Floating in the dark, just beyond the red glow, was Cooper. But his faceplate was shattered, and his eyes were glowing white. He lifted his hand, pointing toward them. His mouth moved silently. Then slowly, his body dissolved into black mist. The doors shut and the lift shot upward. Back on the bridge, alarms blared. Systems failed one after another. Life support flickered. Screens filled with static. Dr. Mira shouted, "It's spreading through the circuits!" It's not just physical, and it's inside the energy lines. Kane slammed his hand on the console. "Cut power to the lower decks." "Already done, Captain," Rhea said, but her voice trembled. "It's still coming." Outside the ship, the mist moved closer. For the first time, it looked like it had form, giant tendrils made of shadow and starlight reaching toward the hull. Inside, the lights on every deck began to blink in rhythm. A pattern. On, off, on, off. A message. Mira stared at the pattern and whispered, "They're trying to talk." Kane turned sharply. "Talk? After what they've done?" She met his gaze. "Maybe this isn't an attack. Maybe it's how they communicate. They're made of light. They use energy to speak. The silence isn't death. It's language." Rhea shook her head. "Tell that to the man who just vanished into dust." Suddenly, the entire ship lurched. The hull groaned like a giant creature waking from a dream. Sensors screamed, "Hull breach, Section 12." Kane shouted, "Seal it off." Mira looked out the viewport. "No. Look." Through the glass, they saw it. Something massive crawling across the ship's outer surface. It wasn't mechanical, but it wasn't flesh either. It looked like liquid darkness, flowing against the light of distant stars. Every time lightning from the ship's shields sparked across it, faces appeared. Human faces, staring, screaming, fading. Rhea whispered, "Those are the Echo 7 crew." The creature pulsed, sending a wave of black energy into the ship. Every light turned white for a single heartbeat, and then everything went silent again. When power returned, the creature was gone. But something else was left behind. In the center of the bridge floor lay a small sphere of glowing dust floating in midair. Mira approached slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "It's beautiful." Kane grabbed her arm. "Don't touch it." The sphere pulsed once, then twice, and suddenly a voice filled the air. Not through speakers, not through sound. It was inside their heads. "You burn the dark. You hurt the light," Mira gasped. "It's speaking." The sphere expanded, its glow brightening. The words came again, louder now. "Stop burning the dark, or all stars will go silent." Then the sphere collapsed into nothing. Kane stood frozen, his breath shallow. "They warned us." Mira looked at him. "No, Captain. They're begging us." The ship fell into complete silence once more. Only the soft hum of the engines remained, and somewhere deep inside, a faint echo of the creature's words lingered. "Stop burning the dark." Captain Kane turned toward the stars that were no longer shining and whispered, "Then what happens if we don't?" The void outside pulsed faintly in response, as if it had heard him. The UNS Resolute floated in the dark sea of space, wrapped in silence. Every system was stable, yet everything felt wrong. No stars shone outside, only a soft grey emptiness that pulsed slowly, like a living heart. Captain Elias Kane stood at the main viewport, his reflection pale and tired. The echoes of the creature's voice still haunted his mind. "Stop burning the dark." He turned toward Dr. Mira Voss, who was studying the readings on her console. "Any progress?" She didn't look up. "Maybe," she said quietly. "The silence, it's not random. It has a pattern, like music but made of light and shadow." Rielin frowned. "Music? We almost died, and you think it's singing to us?" Mira finally looked up, her eyes bright with both fear and wonder. "Yes, every pulse we've seen, every wave of energy, it matches frequencies we use for communication. It's not just a warning, it's a language." Kane folded his arms. "Then what are they saying?" She hesitated. "They're saying we hurt them. Our engines, our jump drives. Every time we travel faster than light, we tear through something alive." The bridge went silent. Engineer Malik Reyes broke the pause. "You mean the dark between stars is alive?" Mira nodded slowly. Yes, these creatures live in the energy fields that stretch between systems. We've been cutting through their world every time we travel. And they finally noticed. Kane looked back at the grey void outside. And now they're watching. Hours passed. The crew worked quietly, scanning, listening. The sound of fingers tapping on screens and the soft hum of life support filled the air. Then, without warning, the ship's lights flickered again. A low hum filled the bridge, deeper than any sound the ship had ever made. Mira froze. It's them. They're responding. The main screen came alive with patterns, lines of blue light, twisting and shifting, forming shapes like constellations being born and dying in seconds. Rhea whispered, "It's beautiful." Mira's fingers moved quickly across the console. They're sending data directly through the ship's sensors. Not to attack, to communicate. The glowing patterns slowed. Words formed, translated through the computer's language filter. "Stop the fire in the dark. The light is bleeding." Kane frowned. "They mean our engines," Mira nodded. "The jump drives use folded light energy. To us it's travel. To them, it's pain." Rhea leaned forward. "If we stop, we're stuck out here. No way home," Kane thought for a moment. "Can we answer them? Use their own method?" Mira hesitated. "Maybe. If we send a light pulse pattern back, matching their frequency, we can try." "Do it," Kane said. The ship's external lights dimmed to near darkness. Then, following Mira's code, they began to blink. A slow rhythm, soft and careful. Pulse, pause, pulse. The message was simple. "We are sorry. We did not know." Seconds passed. Nothing happened. Then the darkness outside began to shimmer. The void moved, folding in on itself. 1,000 small lights appeared, like stars waking from a long sleep. Mira gasped. "They're answering." The stars pulsed together, not as individuals, but as one vast, united being. The translation system struggled to keep up. Letters forming across the screen. "You are children of fire. You do not listen." The last ones said the same. Rhea whispered, "The last ones. You mean they've met others?" Mira nodded slowly. "Other civilizations, maybe older than us. Maybe all gone now." Kane clenched his fists. "What happened to them?" The stars pulsed again. The screen translated the final words. They kept burning. The bridge fell silent again. No one moved. Only the soft hum of the ship's systems filled the air, and even that felt like it was being watched. Malik finally spoke. "If we stop the engines completely, we might survive a little longer. But if we stay, we starve," Kane sighed. "If we jump, we might destroy them, or they might destroy us." The crew waited for his command. The weight of every life aboard pressed against his chest. Mira stepped closer. "Captain, maybe there's another way. If we can send a deeper signal, a real message, not just light but thought, maybe they'll understand." "I think they communicate through emotion." Kane frowned. "Emotion?" "Yes," she said. "They sense fear, anger, calm. The silence itself reacts to what we feel." As if on cue, the ship's lights dimmed again. The pulse outside changed, slower, softer. The creatures were listening. Kane took a deep breath. "All right, Doctor, send your message." Mira closed her eyes, connecting the ship's energy field to the external sensors. She tried to focus on peace, on apology, on understanding. The lights pulsed gently from the ship's hull. The silence outside began to shift in color, from gray to a soft blue. It was working until the console behind them beeped, an incoming signal. Rhea looked at the monitor and went pale. "It's Earth Command, Captain. They're tracking us." "They think we're under attack." Kane's heart sank. "No," Rhea read the message. "They're sending backup. Armed fleet. They plan to destroy the source of the silence." Mira turned sharply. "If they fire weapons here, they'll kill everything. Maybe even every star in this sector." The lights flickered violently. The silence outside began to churn again, as if the creatures had heard. Kane whispered, "Then it's too late. Humanity just declared war on the dark." Outside, the stars' soft glow faded back into blackness. The creatures were no longer calm. They were preparing to answer. The void around the UNS Resolute trembled. Where there had been silence, there was now pressure, a feeling like the entire universe was holding its breath. Inside the ship, alarms glowed red as Captain Elias Kane read the incoming transmission again and again, hoping he'd misread it. Fleet Command Authorization, Omega Directive. Destroy the anomaly. Earth had made its decision. They're bringing the whole fleet, whispered Rhea Lynn, her voice shaking. 5 warships, all armed with solar lances. The crew stared in disbelief. The solar lance, humanity's most powerful weapon, could pierce through stars, burn planets, erase anything caught in its path. Dr. Mira Voss slammed her hand against the console. They don't understand. The silence isn't an enemy, it's alive. Kane's expression was cold, but his eyes betrayed doubt. They think we're already lost, Doctor, and they're coming to finish what they think started here. Outside, the grey mist began to move again, slowly, like a living ocean awakening. The stars that had blinked moments ago now pulsed in rapid rhythm, as if warning them. Mira whispered, they feel the threat. They know. Hours later, the fleet arrived. 5 massive ships tore through the black, sleek, bright and proud. Their engines burned with white light, cutting the silence apart. For a moment it felt like hope. Then it turned into dread. The darkness reacted instantly. The mist twisted, forming enormous tendrils that wrapped around the incoming ships like smoke. Kane watched from the Resolute's bridge. No, stop firing. Don't provoke them. He shouted into the comm, but the fleet didn't hear, or didn't care. One by one, the warships opened fire. Blinding beams of golden light streaked through the void, hitting the tendrils, burning holes into them. For a heartbeat, the creatures screamed, not through sound, but through the mind. Every person on every ship felt it, a deep pain that wasn't physical. A sorrow so massive it could crush a heart. Mira covered her ears, though no noise existed. They're crying, she whispered. You can feel them crying. The stars around them flickered wildly. The pulse patterns from before were gone. There was only chaos now. The first warship exploded. The second vanished into a cloud of black dust. The silence had changed. It was no longer peaceful. It was angry. On the bridge, Rhea shouted over the noise. Captain, they're attacking everything with light, even our shields. Kane turned to Mira. What do we do? She looked terrified but determined. Turn off the light, all of it. Shut down the ship. Are you insane? Malik yelled. We'll be defenseless. They don't attack what they can't see, Mira said. They react to light. It's how they feel pain. If we stay bright, we're screaming at them. Kane hesitated for only a second. Do it. The order went through. One by one, the lights on the Resolute faded to black. Power systems shut down. Engines stopped. Even the emergency lamps died. For the first time in its life, the mighty warship went completely dark, silent, cold, invisible. Outside, the chaos slowed. The mist that had been raging began to still. The stars, now faint, hovered quietly again. They've stopped, Rhea whispered. Mira nodded. They can't feel us anymore. They think we're gone. But the victory lasted only a moment. A new light appeared in the distance, a burning white sun. The lead ship of the fleet was charging the solar lance. Kane slammed his fist on the console. No, if they fire that, they'll destroy this entire sector. He opened a channel to the fleet. This is Captain Elias Kane of the UNS Resolute. Abort your attack! You'll kill us all, static! Then a voice, calm and emotionless. Your transmission is corrupted, Captain. Hold position. Target locked, Mira's voice broke. They can't hear you. The silence is blocking communication. The lance charged fully, a blinding sphere of energy building between the fleet's engines. Malik! Kane barked. Can we jam their systems? Not fast enough. The glow outside intensified. The silence began to shiver again, trembling like a wounded beast. And then the weapon fired. A beam of white fire tore through the void, slicing the mist apart. For a moment, the entire universe went pure light. Then everything went black. The crew woke minutes later. The ship was spinning. Mira opened her eyes and gasped. The stars... Where once there had been thousands, now there were none. The entire sky was empty, black, endless, dead. "The stars are gone," Rhea whispered. Kane stared in horror. "No, they're not gone." Mira looked at the readings. "He's right. They're frozen." The silence stopped them. The light from every star just stopped moving. The warship fleet was gone, erased in an instant. Only the Resolute remained, drifting through the dead light of what was once a galaxy. A voice echoed faintly through the comms, soft and broken. "You were warned. Stop burning the dark." Mira's tears glimmered in the faint console light. "We killed them, and they killed the stars." Kane stood frozen. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "We started a war we can't even understand." Outside, the empty void pulsed once, faint and slow. Then silence returned. The Resolute floated alone, surrounded by the ghosts of light that no longer shone, and deep within the dark, something vast began to stir again, something older than stars. Awake for the first time in eons, the UNS Resolute drifted through nothing. Not darkness, not space, just nothing. The stars were gone. The sky was black and still, like a dead ocean that had forgotten how to move. Every light across the ship glowed faintly, like candles in a tomb. Captain Elias Kane stood at the main viewport. His reflection looked older now, worn down by loss. Behind him, Dr. Mira Voss worked quietly, her face pale in the glow of her console. "The stars didn't die," she said softly. "Their light just stopped." Kane turned.
"Stopped?"
"Yes, it's like time itself froze outside this ship. We're floating inside a wound." The word hung in the air. Wound. Everyone on the bridge felt it. They had seen war, but never something like this. Never silence so deep that even thought felt heavy. Down in engineering, Malik Reyes and his team struggled to restart the main drive. Every time they powered the engines, the same thing happened. A flicker of light outside, followed by a whisper in their minds. "Do not burn." It wasn't a voice from the comms. It was inside their heads. Gentle, but cold, like being spoken to by the void itself. Malik shut the console in frustration. "It's like the ship doesn't want to wake up." Back on the bridge, Rhea looked up from her readings. "Captain, there's movement." Kane frowned. "Movement where?" "Everywhere," she said. "The void around us. It's changing shape." Mira stood beside her, staring out the viewport. "It's not space anymore. It's alive." Outside, faint ripples began to form. Shadows folded in on themselves, spinning slowly. In those shapes, the crew saw fragments, images, reflections, not of stars, but of memories. Kane stepped closer. "That's Earth." He saw cities, oceans, the blue glow of home. Then faces, millions of human faces, fading like smoke. Mira whispered, "They're showing us something." The images shifted again. Alien worlds, strange shapes, ancient beings made of light and shadow. And in every image the same thing appeared, a great silence spreading through the sky, swallowing everything. Mira's voice trembled. "They've done this before. Other civilizations. All gone." Kane clenched his fists. "Then we're next." Suddenly the ship shook violently. Consoles sparked. Malik's voice crackled through the comm. "Captain, the power core is destabilizing. The void's energy is pulling it apart." "Shut it down!" Kane shouted. "I can't!" "It's not mechanical. It's like something's touching it." Mira rushed to her console. "If the core collapses, it'll rip us in half." Rhea looked at her readings. "Captain, the field outside, it's absorbing our energy. The more power we use, the stronger it gets." Kane made his choice instantly. "Cut everything." Full system blackout, the lights died, the engines stopped. The Resolute fell into complete darkness, but then something strange happened. From the silence, a faint glow began to appear in the center of the bridge. A shape, human but not, it shimmered like light trapped in smoke. Mira whispered, "Helix." It was the ship's core intelligence, or what was left of it. But now it looked different. It spoke softly, its voice calm and distant. "Captain, I have seen what they are." Kane stepped forward. "Helix, how are you still active?" "They allowed me to see." The silence is a being, but not one, but many. They were born when the first stars lit the sky. They live inside light. When we began to travel faster than light, we tore through their world. To them we are fire. The crew listened in stunned silence. They don't want war, Helix continued. They want balance. But the solar lance destroyed part of their essence. The stars we lost, those were their voices. Mira took a step closer. Can we fix it? Can we make peace? Helix flickered. Only by giving something back. Light for light, Kane frowned. Meaning? The ship's core holds enough energy to reignite one star, if released in the right pattern. It may restore a small part of what was lost. Or end us completely, Ria's voice broke. You're saying we burn ourselves to make peace? Helix dimmed slightly. There is no peace without sacrifice. Kane looked around at his crew, the faces of people who had followed him across galaxies. Prepare the sequence, he said quietly. Mira's eyes widened. Captain, if we release that much energy... He cut her off. We started this. We end it. The bridge lights flickered back on one last time as Helix prepared the sequence. The hull began to glow faintly blue. Outside, the void stirred, watching. Mira placed her hand on the console. If this works, maybe the stars will forgive us, Kane nodded. If it doesn't, they'll remember we tried. Helix's final words echoed through the ship. Light for light. The core released. A burst of pure white energy erupted from the Resolute, spreading outward in waves. It didn't explode. It bloomed like dawn breaking across a dead sky. The void trembled. The crew fell silent as the blackness around them began to dissolve. And then, for the first time in what felt like forever, a single star ignited. It shone faintly at first, then brighter, pushing the darkness back inch by inch. Ria's voice broke into a whisper. We did it. Mira smiled weakly, tears in her eyes. They heard us. Kane looked out the viewport, the newborn star reflecting in his eyes. Maybe they'll speak again. Behind them, Helix's voice faded. Goodbye, Captain. Then the ship went still. The Resolute drifted quietly under the light of a single reborn star. The first sign that the silence could forgive. The UNS Resolute floated in quiet peace. Around it, a single newborn star burned gently, a small sun in an ocean of black. Its light touched the ship's cracked hull, painting it gold. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, the crew saw something other than darkness. Captain Elias Kane stood by the main viewport, staring at the small, glowing star. His reflection looked tired but calm. He whispered to himself, we gave light, and they answered. Behind him, Dr. Mira Voss worked silently, her fingers gliding over the console. Her hair floated slightly in the weak gravity. She looked up. Helix is gone. The ship's systems are stable, but the AI core... It burned itself out. Kane nodded slowly. He made the choice we couldn't. Ria Lin looked out the window, her eyes wide. Sir, look. The light spreading. Outside the new star pulsed, one soft wave, then another. The light moved like ripples across invisible water, traveling far into the distance. And with every pulse, something began to happen. Faint dots appeared across the horizon. One, then two, then dozens, stars. They weren't as bright as before, but they were alive. Mira gasped. They're waking up. Kane's voice was low, full of wonder. Helix did it. He gave them back their voice. Ria smiled for the first time in days. Then, we're not alone anymore. But Mira's expression darkened slightly. No, we never were. A soft vibration ran through the ship. The consoles flickered, not from damage, but from contact. A signal. This time it wasn't random static or strange whispers. It was clear, rhythmic, and beautiful. Ria turned up the volume. A deep melodic tone filled the air, like 1,000 voices singing through light. The sound wasn't just heard. It was felt. Warm, ancient, full of emotion. Mira's eyes filled with tears. It's them. The silence is speaking. Kane listened carefully. The rhythm wasn't chaos. It was language. A pattern Mira quickly began decoding. After minutes of analysis, words began forming on her screen. Simple glowing text. Light returned. balance restored. "We remember," Kane whispered. "They remember us." Another pulse of light crossed the sky. More words appeared. "The fire that wounded now heals. The children of light have learned." Mira covered her mouth. "They're calling us?" "Children of light," Rhea smiled faintly. "That's almost kind." The ship trembled gently again. Outside, the new star flared once more, sending another pulse through the void. This time the signal came directly through the ship's comm. The voice was soft, not human but peaceful. "You burned the dark, but you gave light back. We forgive. Go home." Silence followed. A silence that felt different now, not empty, but safe. Malik's voice came from engineering. "Captain, I think I can bring the engines online." "Power's returning." Kane turned to Mira. "Set a course for home." Mira hesitated. "If we leave, will they let us come back?" He looked at her. "If we're wise enough, we won't have to." She smiled sadly. "Maybe one day we'll meet them again, in peace." Kane nodded. "Maybe one day they'll welcome us among the stars." The ship hummed softly as power returned. Engines glowed, thrusters came alive, and navigation systems flickered back online. The UNS Resolute, once lost in silence, was ready to move again. Rhea took the helm. "Course set for Sol system. Estimated time." "Unknown," Kane smiled faintly. "Let's make it home." As the ship turned, the light from the newborn star washed over its hull, a final blessing before departure. But just as they prepared to jump, a faint blip appeared on the radar. "Captain," Rhea said, "there's something behind us." The crew looked out the viewport. In the distance, floating calmly in the starlight, was another ship. Massive, silent, and dark. Its shape wasn't human. It was elegant, like it had been grown, not built. Mira's eyes widened. "That's not one of ours." Kane stepped closer to the glass. The alien ship shimmered faintly, like it was made of light and shadow both. Then, a soft signal appeared on their screen. Just one line of text. Not all were destroyed. We watched. "We remember your choice," Kane whispered. "Survivors." Mira smiled. "Maybe this is what first contact truly means." The alien ship pulsed once, sending a thin beam of light toward the Resolute. It wasn't an attack, it was a connection. The beam formed symbols, a shared signal halfway between their languages. "Peace begins where silence ends." Kane looked at Mira. "Send them a reply." She nodded, typing carefully. "We hear you." The alien ship's lights brightened once, then it turned slowly and drifted toward the newborn star, disappearing into its golden glow. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Rhea said softly, "Captain, what do we tell Earth?" Kane looked out into the stars, no longer dark, but alive again. "Tell them the truth," he said. "Tell them the stars were never silent. We just never listened." The UNS Resolute jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind the newborn star, the silence, and the mystery that had changed humanity forever. As it vanished into the distance, the reborn constellations shimmered once more, whispering faintly through the cosmos. Light returns, and with it, life. And for the first time since the stars went silent, the universe sang again.